Jina langu ni Mogaka Ogutu. Mimi ni mkurugenzi wa elimu anayehusika na masuala ya sera, ushirikiano na masuala ya Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki. Ninafanya kazi katika Wizara ya Elimu. Na pengine niulize, mngependa niwahutubie kwa lugha ya Kiswahili ama lugha ya Kiingereza? Haya, tutulie. My name is Darius Mogaka Ogutu. I'm the director in charge of policy, partnerships, and East African Community Affairs in the Ministry of Education, State Department of Early Learning and Basic Education. My special interest with this group of scholars, and more specifically KFW, is because of that policy partnership issue. That for you to get sponsorship, the Equity Group Foundation and the Ministry of Education had to engage with partners to support you. Specifically, we have the German Development Bank, KFW. We've got the MasterCard Foundation and other partners. We had to engage and convince them that this was a worthwhile undertaking for them. And the result is you're here and you're soon sitting for your KCSE examination. For those of you who excel in the KCSE, there's a possibility some of the partners will still work with you in post-secondary training. So a few weeks ago, I visited some schools in Western and Nyanza just to get a feeling and to see how you are benefiting out there. And I was actually surprised that you get new shoes, you get a complete set for your uniform, you get books, and some other requirements. And that somebody even comes to school to find out whether you actually received what you were meant to have received. I was amazed. And some of the students that I visited may be here, but I was interested in seeing the quality of life of the scholars in school. And I must say, you are a favored lot. Just imagine, somebody is paying your tuition, someone is meeting the cost of your uniform, someone is meeting the cost of your materials, even your transport reimbursement, and your pocket money. And they are making it a duty to follow up with you and even cater for your medical expenses. So today, I want to talk to you about 4 things, because I was invited to speak to you about issues to do with leadership amongst yourself. So the first thing I would want to talk to you about is resilience. Resilience. And resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, the aspect of being tough or toughness, the ability to spring back into shape. It's a kind of elasticity that you are able to spring back into shape. Meaning you're flexible and you are adaptable. The fact that you've gotten a favor and you're a scholar requires that your resilience, irrespective of the circumstances that led to you being where you are, it is paramount for you to recognize that you've got to recover and you've got to rise above the circumstances you find yourself in and excel. In some cases, we call it dexterity. You've got to be tough. Some of us look back and say, oh, I come from this kind of family. I come from this kind of environment. And we use those as excuses for us not performing to the best of our ability. Well, there's somebody who is standing with you and offering you support and telling you you should be able to achieve what you can. What you desire, you can be able to achieve it. You've got to be resilient. Number 2, persistence. In Form 1, all of you joined secondary with more than 350 marks. That was a criteria for you to be in the program. Your mean grade at Form 1 may have been an A or an A minus. Some of you have improved. In Form 2, you got maybe a B plus. In Form 3, stagnated somewhere. In Form 4, you have no choice. You cannot move backwards. I watched the just recently concluded Commonwealth Games at the Gold Coast. And in the marathon event for men, there was a Scottish runner who was leading and had been leading for some time. But he had done so much that he eventually collapsed before he could get to the finish line. He burnt out. He required first aid on the track. A few years ago, a Kenyan athlete collapsed before the finish line. But because of their resilience, they literally crawled on the fours, on the hand and knees. They crawled to the finish line. They were leading when they collapsed, and they could see the finish line. And the athlete who was second actually went past and won the race. But this Kenyan athlete literally surmounted some energy and determination to crawl on all fours in the full glare of television cameras and cross the finish line. That's the level of determination that you need to have as a scholar. That you can see the finish line come October, November, the finish line is right there, and you've got to pace yourself. You've got to push yourself. Give it the last kick so that you cross the finish line. Some of us, if 2 or 3 athletes are ahead of you, you give up. You say, after all, I'm not going to be the top. But you can break your personal record. You can break your personal record by just pushing on. And that's where you are. Maybe your personal best is B+. But it's possible that that B+ can be translated into an A- if you do all these good things that you've been told by the various speakers that have been here. So, the aspect of being persistent The fact persistent means continuing on a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. It is the essence of perseverance, tenacity, determination, resolve, resolution. You convince yourself that no matter what, I will cross the finish line, and I will be among the best to do that. Why would you let down somebody who's given all they have to support you for the last 4 years? Why will you let them down at the last minute? Last year, I had a case of some of the scholars, 2 examples. One who was an A material, but on the last term, just before examination, she decided to get married and dropped out of school. Can you imagine? And you know her justification was? Do you know what her justification was? After all, even if I finish Form 4 and go to college, I'll still end up. How many in this gathering are of that opinion? How many are of that opinion? The second one lost a chance at an Ivy League university, fully paid scholarship, just because of dishonesty. Because of not telling the truth. Somebody asks you, where are you? Instead of saying that you are at Pangani Girls attending a conference, you say, oh, I'm in CBD. Somebody again calls you back and asks you, where are you? You say, no, now I've left CBD. I'm around Globe Cinema. But I can look at my phone, and the GPS on my phone tell me you're somewhere around Pangani. So how can you be in Pangani and you're telling me you are in the CBD, in town? I actually met this scholar. She came to my office with a parent, and I asked them, but why did you lie? Why? Ivy League, the best in the world, fully paid scholarship, and you lose it because you are dishonest. Persistence. And mark you, this is a scholar who had made an application, gone through interviews, done everything, and she was the best. It pained me. I felt so bad about it. And there she was. I'm looking at her and asking, why? Why did you lie? I don't know whether Mwalimu remembers the case. But even weeks after, when the mother was still calling me, I said, you see, I cannot change the fact that your daughter was dishonest. Remember those 2 words, resilience, persistence. You've got to persevere. It doesn't matter how hard, it doesn't matter how difficult it is, you've got to persevere. Nothing comes on a silver platter. Thirdly, this brings you to leadership. The fact that you're a scholar, in your school, you may be less than 2% or 3% of yourself and others who are in the program that have managed to benefit from this opportunity. Now, you are in the top percentile of beneficiaries who should be able to give and offer leadership. Can everyone put a sign or a greater than sign or less than sign with your hands? Greater than or less than? You know, sometimes if you're driving and you're in a car, beautiful car, you'd like to be having a greater than sign or less than sign on the window. Greater than sign, can you hook it up and form a chain with a colleague next to you? Can you hook it up? Hook it up, literally. Let your hand go through. Now, can you try to move to one side or the other side while you are hooked on? All right. Thank you. It's a simple demonstration. It's a simple demonstration that if you were to form a chain, you need several links. You yourself, you'll form a link for the other person to hook onto that link. And once you form that link, it can extend all the way, that way and that way. And if you maintain that link, it is as strong as the weakest point of that link. And that link is you. When you talk about leadership, it's not about being the president. It's not about being the minister or being the school captain or being the group leader. It is about offering leadership in terms of vision. In this case, within your school, it's an element of instructional leadership. That through you and your colleagues, you are able to come together and form that link. You know, somebody has to tell you, let's form a link and hold on to that link. And this is what we are going to do. And then you strengthen that chain. By extension, the Wings to Fly program has given you a link. And this link, by extension, you owe it to those people who are supporting you to extend the link to the other person. And it doesn't matter that that person is in the program or not in the program. But the fact that you are with them, you are in the same environment, it's possible for you to be an agent of change, a positive agent of change in that school or in that class. And mark my words, you don't have to be a prefect. You don't have to be a school captain. But you must think like a leader. Of course, there are some of us who want to be followers. Essentially, you cannot be a leader without followers. But for you to accept to be a follower, it's because you submit, so-and-so has got a better chance. And if I support him or her, the possibility of us succeeding is much higher. Look at it in the form of a soccer game. A few days ago, the mighty Barcelona lost to AC Roma. The question is, what happened? It's a classic example of leadership. On one team, you've got the world's best footballer. The world's best footballer. But then, he cannot win on his own. he needs the other 10 players on the field to play as a unit. On the other side, you've got 11 players who've decided to extend the link and hold on and say, oh my, no one is going to break us down. We are going to stand firm. And they actually stand firm. So the result, the best team in the world with the best player in the world lost. Are we together? It's all an issue of leadership. The ability or the action of leading, having a vision, being passionate about that vision, convincing others to the efficacy of your vision, and being able to pull others onto that similar platform so that you both excel. Number 4, transformation. I can see this is supposed to be a bridge towards transformative leadership. Now, something has to change within you. If you boil an egg, what happens? What happens? The yolk inside hardens, right? What about if you boil some coffee berries? What happens? Now ask yourself, what kind of transformation comes unto you? And please pay attention, there's somebody there playing with their sweater. By the way, my background is teaching, so I'm a teacher, and I can see a student at the far end who has a sweater, who is just playing around with the sweater, throwing it up and down. I can even see the ones outside in the tent. So I have about how many more minutes? 5 more minutes, right? 10 more minutes, 5 more minutes. For you to be a transformative leader, you've got to come up with solutions to everyday problems. Solutions to everyday problems. The human resource director gave you examples of Steve Jobs, for example. This is somebody who looked at how we existed back then and came up with solutions. His solutions have revolutionized the world. I visited a school on Gong Road that is teaching coding. You understand what coding means? A school that is teaching coding. And when I went to the school, I got so many children on computers. And there was a 5-year-old in that room. And I asked the facilitator, do you have content for this 5-year-old? And she laughed and said, she's got interest. She's interested in what the others are doing. And she's making progress. Why? Because coding, the issue of algorithms, the computer language, is the way to go. Is the future, language of the future, that you are able to design solutions for key applications if you are able to study coding. And it doesn't matter whether you are an engineer, whether you are a scientist, whatever it is, if you don't know coding, you have a challenge. You've got to rely on some software engineer to do that for you. And a 5-year-old is already embarking on that journey. I happened to talk with a parent and asked, why is your daughter doing coding at 5-year-old? And the father said, this girl is just interested in computers. And I thought getting her into a coding class will keep her busy. Now, you are in Form 4. You may not be doing coding at this point. you're preparing for your KCSE. How much time are you putting into your preparation for KCSE? How much of it is targeted towards a transformation of your life? And I heard you ask the director, why not come down and pick those with B minus? It will never happen. And forget about the Matiang'i grades. Forget about the WHO grades. It is your grade. Whatever you come out with, no one will talk about Matiang'i. No one will talk about Amina Mohammed or whoever. It is your grade. So you will not get a C plus and say, you see, this Matiang'i C plus is similar to a Kaimenyi A minus. No. The director has told you he'll pick the best 500. If you're not among the best 500, I'm sorry, not possible. Transformation, it's up to you to come up with solutions for everyday problems, and in that, be able to transform not only your life, but that of others. Lastly, performance. As the Ministry of Education, we are interested in learning outcomes. We are interested in results. Not so much the grade, but in what you acquire, the competences that you acquire after your secondary education. What kind of citizen are we sending out to the public? What kind of Kenyan goes out into that public? And that's why I love this program. You've got mentors. There are people counseling you, guiding you, giving you support. You are aware of what exists in the world, what the future holds for you. It's up to you to shape up, to prepare yourself for it, and be ready to capitalize on those opportunities. Just imagine someone telling you that I'm going to pick 500 of the best, and then you don't want to be the best. Instead, you want to bargain. Results as a result of performance. For some of you, you have a chance to move from a D grade to A. If you don't hit the A, maybe B plus. For others, you have an opportunity to maintain your A grade. And fortunately for some of you who are not listening to me keenly, there will be a catastrophe for you moving from A to D. And you will not understand what happened. What happened is you lost focus. As you approach the finish line, you lost focus. You did not push yourself enough to achieve what you wanted. This is an opportunity for you to chart your path. Be sure that the future is waiting for you. A few months from now, you will meet with your colleagues. Some of you may not even be willing to face you because of what would have happened in October, November. There is a gentleman in South Africa that qualified to go to university, but his parents did not have money to support him in university. So he went to the shopping center, to the traders in the shopping center, and talked to an Indian trader and said, if please you can support me to go to university. When I come back, I will get a job, I will repay you all the money that you will have spent on me. So this trader was interested and asked, why? And he said, my parents are not able to support me to university, yet I've got an admission. And they cannot even put food on the table. But if you give me this chance, I'll be able to come back, get a job, pay you back, and support my family. So the trader told this young man, I will write a voucher for your mother to pick every month, to come to my shop and pick whatever they need at home. And I'll pay your school fees. So this man went to college, graduated, came back, looked for a job, got employed, and came back to the trader and said, now I'm employed, I want to pay you back the money you invested in me. How much has it risen to? And can we agree on a repayment model? So the trader looked at him and said, you promised to finish your university education, and I do not require you to pay me back. Just do to someone else what I have done for you. Dr. James Mwangi is not going to ask you to pay him back. Mwalimu Kibiru is not going to ask you to pay him back. Equity Group Foundation is not going to ask you to pay them back. But they've worked with you. It is your chance to pay it forward. Because one good deed deserves another. It is your opportunity you have to pay it forward so that we nurture the spirit of philanthropy, that you are able to give back to society. You are able to say, yes, I got an opportunity to study. I got a scholarship and I excelled. I'm now an engineer. I'm a professor. I'm a businessman. I'm a scientist. How can I give back to society? If you look up the words of James chapter 1, verse 21, it reads, because of this, having cast away all uncleanness and abundance of malice, receive with meekness the newly grafted word, which is able to save your souls. I want to wish you well. God bless you, and all the best.